I'm Judy Shaw for What's the Fund. Joining me today is Andy Hicks. Andy is the Director of ETF Portfolio Management and Research at SS&C Alps. Andy, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining me.
It's great to see you, Judy. Thanks for having me.
A quick note to our viewers, this interview is for informational purposes only. The NYSE doesn't recommend any investments or investment strategies. Andy, what's the fund you want to talk about today?
The fund is the Alps Medical Breakthroughs ETF. The ticker is SBIO, SBIO.
Oh, tell me about this fund.
Yeah, so it's the holdings are 200 million to 5 billion in market cap. It's that mid-level focus within the biotech space. And really what's been driving this entire space has been immunotherapy. You know, when you look at COVID and everything that's going on with COVID, the vaccines and the treatments, it is all underpinned by immunotherapy. Spike protein from a vaccine standpoint is being used from an immunotherapy standpoint to treat or to create vaccines. In addition, immunotherapy is being used for a lot of treatments from a lung inflammation standpoint to help prevent that storm of antibodies into the lung. So I think it's made the whole general investing public a lot more aware of what's going on. And certainly M&A has been a huge factor to this whole space as well. Just this week, 2 M&A mergers have occurred in terms of Principia Pharmaceuticals. That's a 2.5% weight in SBIO. They are getting bought by Sanofi. And Momenta Pharmaceuticals is getting bought by Johnson & Johnson. So you've seen a tremendous amount of M&A, and they're all immunotherapy companies. And so that's kind of what's set the thesis for this space.
Andy, what's the strategy behind this fund?
So SBIO is a small to mid-cap fund, as I mentioned. So what we always wanted to do when accessing this space, it's a very exciting and promising space, but it's very volatile in terms of investors stock picking in the things in SBIO. The first one is that it must have 24 months of cash burn on hand. The company must have 24 months, and this helps to protect against the equity dilution that you see over time as these companies finance their drug trials. The second one is we only play in the later stage of the drug trial process. That's phase 2 and 3. Empirically, we see a lot of drug failures occur in the preclinical and phase 1. So we wanted to help de-risk the access to this space by only going into the later stage of the FDA drug trial process. And that, you know, typically, even if they do have failures, there's still some IP and combination therapy potential there. So it's not a complete binary outcome where you're losing out. So as I mentioned, you know, SBIO is the only biotech ETF that employs these quality screens. And that's what we like to do from our thematic ETFs, provide access to these hyper growth areas, but do it in a smart way to help put on a little bit of a risk control, if you will.
And Andy, where can we learn more about this fund?
You can go to Alps, www.alpsfunds.com, and search for SBIO and our other thematic ETFs as well.
Andy, thanks for joining me on What's the Fund.
All right. Thanks, Judy.